welcome everyone. There is a peculiar thing about human relationships, one of those paradoxes that seem almost too simple to be true. You see, the moment you stop chasing, the moment you cease grasping, the very thing you once sought begins to turn toward you. A woman, like any human being, thrives on the dance of attention. The moment she senses that your attention has waned, something stirs within her. It is not always love. It is often a far deeper, more primal response. It is the fear of fading from the stage of your awareness. For you were once a mirror, reflecting back to her a sense of self. And now that mirror is turning away. That is unsettling. We all seek confirmation of our existence in the eyes of another, and when that gaze is withdrawn, it forces us into an existential dilemma. Who am I if I am no longer seen? She may react in many ways. Some will cling tighter, trying to reclaim what they feel is slipping away. Others will feign indifference, as if to prove they never needed your attention in the first place. But beneath all of it is the simple truth. Absence. But here's the trick. This is not just about her. This is about you. When you lose interest, something within you has shifted. Perhaps you have seen through the illusion of possession, realizing that no person, no matter how radiant, can truly be yours. Love is not a transaction, nor is it a game of acquisition. So what does one do? If your heart has withdrawn, let it. If your presence has faded, do not force it back into the frame. The river flows as it must, and to resist is to suffer. If she is meant to stay, she will. If she is meant to leave, no force in the world will keep her. Because in the end, all of this is a grand play, a dance of form and formlessness. And the wisest thing you can do is not to cling, not to control, but simply to watch the play unfold. Human relationships are not static. They are a continuous movement, a dance of energy flowing between two people. Attention, like breath, comes and goes. It is given, received, withheld, and reclaimed. When the rhythm is in harmony, but when one partner changes their step, pauses, slows down, or steps away, the other partner cannot help but notice. Think of it like music. When the melody flows predictably, the listener sways along, immersed in the rhythm. But if a sudden silence emerges where sound once was, the absence is more deafening than any note could be. That is the nature of attention. Its withdrawal speaks louder than its presence. This is why relationships often feel most intense at the edges, at the beginning when attention is fresh and overflowing, and at the moment when it begins to fade. When one person stops responding in the expected way, it disrupts the unspoken agreement of the dance. The other partner, whether consciously or not, feels the shift. A kind of imbalance forms, compelling them to restore the rhythm. Some try to pull the attention back, seeking reassurance, validation, or control. Others withdraw in response, mirroring the absence. But at the core of it all is a simple truth. We are wired to notice when the energy we were accustomed to receiving is no longer there. We like to believe we are the captains of our relationships, steering them toward the destinations we desire. We think love is something we can manage, something we can earn, maintain, but this belief is just that, an illusion. Love is not a contract, nor is it a fixed structure we can hold in place with sheer willpower. It is like water, fluid, untamed, and indifferent to our desires. It moves as it must, not as we wish. When we are deeply invested in someone, we cling to the comforting notion that our effort, our affection, or our mere presence is enough to sustain the connection. But what happens when interest fades, when the once vibrant attention begins? In that moment, the illusion shatters. We realize that no matter how tightly we hold on, we cannot force love to stay where it no longer wishes to be. The tighter we grip, the more it slips through our fingers. Just like trying to clutch water in our hands, some will panic trying to reclaim what is slipping away, believing that if they just do more, give more, be more, they can restore what is lost. Others will become bitter, resenting the natural ebb and flow of human connection. But the wise will step back and see the truth. Love was never theirs to control. It was only ever theirs to experience. And so the lesson is clear. When love flows toward you, welcome it. When it recedes, let it go, because the one who understands this does not suffer love's coming and going, but instead moves with it like a river embracing the changing tides. When a woman senses that your interest has faded, her reaction is not always rooted in love. It is often something far more primal. It is the ego's panic, the sudden realization that the gaze, which once affirmed. You see, we are all deeply conditioned to seek validation from the external world. We measure our worth not only by how we see ourselves, but by how others respond to us. When someone who once admired, pursued, or cherished us withdraws their attention, it is not merely a loss, it feels like an existential threat. For the ego, to be seen is to exist. To be ignored is to fade into irrelevance. And irrelevance in the eyes of the ego is a kind of death. This is why a woman may react with sudden urgency when she realizes you have lost interest, not because she loves you, but because your withdrawal has triggered a fear buried deep within her psyche. Am I no longer desirable? Am I no longer significant? In this state, she may try to reclaim your attention, not necessarily because she wants you, but because she needs to prove to herself that she is still wanted. She may reach out, test you, provoke you, or attempt to reignite the spark, only to lose interest again once she feels reassured. This is not love. This is the ego's desperate attempt to reassert its importance. But here is the truth. No one can escape this. Men do it too. We all cling to the validation of others until we learn to see through the illusion that our worth is not determined by how much attention we receive. When you detach from the game, when you no longer react, something remarkable happens. The ego loses its power over you and you become truly free. Because in the end, love is not found in the desperation to be seen, but in the quiet confidence of knowing that you do not need to be. Desire is not a one-way street, it is a mirror. When we feel drawn to someone, it is not merely their qualities that captivate us. It is the way they reflect something back to us. Their beauty, charm, or presence becomes meaningful only because we perceive it as such. Our desire for them reinforces their desirability, just as their interest in us affirms our own sense of worth. But what happens when that desire fades? When the person who once admired, pursued, or longed for them no longer does? Suddenly the mirror stops reflecting. The glow of attraction that once surrounded them seems to dim, not because they have changed, but because the validation they once received is no longer there. For many, this is unsettling. A woman who was once desired may begin to question, was I truly captivating, or was I only as attractive as his admiration made me feel? If your longing once defined part of her identity, its absence leaves a void one she may feel compelled to fill. This is why people often react strongly when they sense they are no longer wanted. It is not necessarily about losing you, but about losing the reflection of themselves that you once provided. Attraction, then, is not just about physical or emotional connection. It is about confirmation. When you stop desiring, you break the cycle. And in that moment, she is left with a choice, either to see herself independent of your gaze or to seek another mirror to reaffirm her sense of worth. Because at its core, desire is not about possession, it is about perception. And when you shift your perception, the entire dynamic changes. True security comes from within. It is the quiet knowing that one's worth is not dictated by the shifting tides of attention. But for many, self-worth is built not on an inner foundation, but on external validation, on how much they are wanted, pursued, and admired. When a woman feels secure within herself, she does not need constant reassurance. She does not panic when attention wanes because she does not depend on it for her sense of identity. But if her confidence is tied to how others perceive her, then the moment interest fades, insecurity rushes in like a tide, reclaiming the shore. This is why when you withdraw your attention, when your interest diminishes, she may instinctively push for revalidation. It is not necessarily about you as a person, but about what your desire represented. A confirmation of her desirability, her status. At first, she may test the waters subtly, a delayed response to see if you'll chase, an offhand comment meant to provoke, or a sudden display of indifference to gauge your reaction. If that doesn't work, the efforts may escalate. Direct attempts to engage, to reclaim what was once effortlessly given. But here's the paradox. The push for validation is often unconscious. She may not even realize she is doing it. It is the ego's survival mechanism, grasping for reassurance in the face of uncertainty. The fear is not necessarily losing you. It is losing the version of herself that felt validated by your desire. This is why, in the grand dance of attraction, the most powerful shift happens when you no longer seek validation yourself. When you move from needing external affirmation to embodying self-assurance, you become the one who defines the rhythm. And in that moment, the entire dynamic changes, not just with her, but with everyone around you. Most relationships are not built on true freedom, but on attachment, on the need to hold, to possess, to keep. We do not merely love, we cling. We do not simply experience another, we try to make them ours. And in doing so, we turn what was once fluid and alive into something rigid, something bound. But attachment is a paradox. The more you try to hold on to something, the more it resists being held. Love, like water, flows freely when unforced, but the moment you try to grasp it, it slips through your fingers. And this is where the great irony of human relationships emerges. The moment one person loosens their grip, the other tightens theirs. When you withdraw your attention, you disrupt the silent agreement that attachment creates. The rhythm of the relationship, where one gives and the other receives, is suddenly thrown off balance. The person who once felt secure in your presence now feels the unsettling absence. Fear arises. Why is he no longer giving me what I expected? Have I lost my hold over him? Was I only significant because he desired me? This is why, when one person pulls away, the other often reacts with urgency, trying to restore the lost sense of control, trying to recapture what now seems to be slipping away. It is not always love that compels this reaction, but the discomfort of losing what once felt certain. But here is the great secret. The one who lets go first holds the real power, not in manipulation, but in understanding. They see that attachment is an illusion, that love cannot be possessed, only experienced. And when you stop clinging, when you stop needing, something profound happens. The relationship transforms. Either it flows naturally as it was meant to, or it dissolves, revealing that it was never built on true connection. There is a strange and undeniable truth about human nature. We rarely notice what is always in front of us, but the moment something begins to slip away, its significance grows. What is constant becomes background noise, but what is absent creates an echo that lingers in the mind.